Hey everybody, Brian Hamrick here with Next Level Thursday, and I'm here with one of my investment partners, Jeremy Garcia.
Hello.
Jeremy and I have done like a really interesting deal in 2022. And Jeremy, why don't you fill us in? Like, we're standing in a cabin right now. This is a vacation rental, but tell us like what this cabin is part of.
So this cabin is a part of a 14-acre facility that we bought. It includes 7 cabins and 3 houses that we're renovating, updating, bringing up to the 21st century, and really doing a value add to maximize our returns.
Yeah. So we didn't just buy a vacation rental property. We bought a vacation rental resort. And you said 14 acres, 7 cabins, 3 houses, but we're actually on the shores of Lake Michigan. Like, you can actually go down to the beach and enjoy the beautiful sand in the shores of Lake Michigan. And Jeremy, the reason I'm doing the Next Level Thursday is to share with our listeners and viewers on YouTube the challenges we had in taking this property down. But even like one of the challenges in even knowing that this property was on the market when we bought it. So why don't you kind of take our listeners through that process? Like, how did you come across this property? We bought it last year in we closed in June of 2022.
May 31st.
May 31st. But this came on our radar back in 2021.
It was a long process from initially making contact. A realtor had listed it and put their sign out, but didn't have it in any of the local MLS. They were actually based out of Traverse City, and it was only on the Traverse City MLS. So most people didn't even know it was for sale. So that was challenge number one. We stumbled across it because our realtor was actually showing a house next door. He called and found out more about it because he knew we did vacation rentals. Another challenge we faced was the fact that we had no finances for them to work with. They hadn't opened for 2 years from COVID. And when they were open, they grossed about $70,000.
We first looked at this in the summer of 2021. Mm-hmm. It was on the market enough so that people had looked at it, made offers where they wanted the seller to carry the financing. Because really that was the only way to get any financing, was to have the seller carry it. Because when you're buying a commercial property, one of the things that the lender or the bank is going to look at is the historical income. Really, the historical income, A, didn't exist because they'd been closed for 2 years because of COVID. And B, when it did exist 3 years prior, $70,000 in income really didn't indicate the $2 million in value that they were asking for this property.
Yeah, I mean, we have single-family homes that rent out for more than that.
Yeah, so that was a really tough hurdle for any buyer to get over, including us, because we made an offer based on seller financing. Hey, we'll pay your asking price. We would have paid more than asking price if they would have carried the note, but they refused to do that. So you run into that sometimes. Sellers, especially like mom and pop sellers, they're just not comfortable with the idea of holding the note, which means they're going to be the bank and carry the loan. And I think part of that is because in their mind, they're divorcing themselves from owning the property. They don't want to have anything to do with the property after they sell. So we were running into that. That was challenge number one. Challenge number two was the broker who had it listed. Really, it was marketed up in Traverse City, but at one point after we had made our offer, they rejected it, and we said, okay, do we up our offer? How do we get financing on this? We couldn't figure it out, so we said, let's wait, let them go through a winter, and in the middle of winter, we'll make another offer, because they'll be at the depths of their despair.
Yeah, it would have been about this time last year.
Yeah, it would have been this. So at this time last year in 2022, like right now we're in January 2023, but in January of 2022, I looked it up to see if it was still for sale. Couldn't find it. Wasn't listed. So I called our broker, Eric, and I said, hey, did this sell, and how much did it sell for? And he goes, well, I know it didn't sell. Let me look into it. Our realtor, our broker, couldn't find it. So he actually came over here to talk to the owners who were living on site. They directed him to their broker, who said, no, it's still for sale. So that's when we said, okay, let's double down and figure out how to actually find a lender.
Yeah.
So we put together a pitch deck for lenders. And it basically talked about the property, the fact that it's 14 acres on Lake Michigan, 7 cabins, 3 houses. We had data from Air DNA, but we also said to the lenders in the pitch deck, we said, look, we know that this is an unfinanceable project. There's no historical data, but we still want you to finance it. And so everyone said, no, we're not going to finance it, except for...
Yeah, we had one banker, West Shore Bank, who we were working with on another project, was willing to finance it for us. They financed it at 65%, which is obviously way better than zero.
And then let's talk about that loan. So it wasn't just a loan based on the purchase price. It was based on the construction costs as well.
Yeah.
So they were, when you say 65%, it was 65% LTC.
Correct. So it included the construction cost.
And the other thing important to point out about West Shore Bank is they are local.
Yep.
In Muskegon. I know they're all across, up in north and south in Michigan here, but they are local in Muskegon, and they knew this property already.
Yeah.
So when you run into a problem of finding a lender on a specialty property like this, it helps to find a local lender who actually knows the area.
Yeah, they know the area. They also know us because they turned down other people on it, but they were willing to finance us because we actually have a history of doing short-term rentals.
That's true. That's important too. And they know you especially because you've done a lot of short-term rentals with them already. Thanks for filling us in on Scenic Drive Resort. This is an exciting project.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeremy, tell our listeners, if you want to book this place, how would you do that?
If you want to book this place, go ahead and check out our website. It's bookdreamstay.com.
So bookdreamstay.com. Thanks for checking out this episode of Next Level Thursday. We'll see you next week.